with several examples. First of all, in Croatia, there was an initiative to actually enact what we call, I mean, it was changing titles all the time, but pretty much it was the Code of Good Practice on consultations between the government and interested public, including then civil society organizations, of course. And this is a document that was supposed to be enacted last year in July. And then it got to the cabinet in the government and it was stopped there. And since then, nothing happened, so we still don't have it enacted, although it was even put as one of the measures in the national strategy for fighting against corruption. And according to that strategy, it was supposed to be enacted by September last year, I think. Well, anyway, 1 year we already broke the deadline that it was supposed to be enacted. And although we never were able to get an official answer why this document was stopped, unofficial answer is that actually, you know, having civil society organizations involved actually takes a lot of time. And right now, Croatia really doesn't want to spend too much time, you know, debating on any law, on anything that is being passed through government or the parliament, and the reason for it is pretty much simple, because we have only one program, and that program is we want Croatia to be in the European Union as soon as possible. So we use every excuse that we can to speed up this process, and at this point our government considers civil society organizations, you know, to be some kind of a backlog. If you include them, that means you have to organize a debate. It's at least a couple of days that you need to give to people to send their comments and to actually read through the law proposal or whatever. And this is not happening. Most of the law proposals are passing through our parliament in urgent procedure. This means that, you know, government writes up the proposal, sends it to the parliament, and after 3 days already, you know, our parliamentarians are raising their hands, the law has passed, and then of course 2 months afterwards it's either sent to Constitutional Court for motion on the whether it's actually in accordance with the Constitution, or we have of course amendments to the same law, because when we start implementing it, then we see that there are problems. Unfortunately, this is how we are doing. It's something that our government has put as a practice in the last couple of years, and to that respect, of course, it is very difficult if you really want to influence on this highest possible level of inclusion, and that is actually to try to influence the decision making on national level. Then you will have problems, because mostly you will hear about law proposals very late, when they are already being sent to the parliament, and then you will only have a couple of days to maybe send some comments, some amendments that you would propose or something like that, and to lobby actually among parliamentarians. Another thing is that not only the problem in the parliament, but the problem before is that you really won't hear about what government's working on until they actually decide upon it on some of their sessions. Just recently we had the example of changes to the Constitution. So there was a talk for 1 year about, you know, changing the Constitution. The working group was set up, but we saw the actual document only the 2 hours after the session of the government, on which the government decided to send it to the parliament, ended. So we were waiting for it, you know, because of course before that you would be contacted by some journalists, because there was a talk in the media about what will be the changes to the constitution. They would ask you if you want to comment some of the proposed changes, and you wouldn't be able to comment because you would only be commenting somebody's statement from the papers that you read or something that you heard on the TV, but you never saw the actual document, you never knew what was actually written. And this is one thing that my organization really opposed. We asked once it was sent to the parliament that there should be a discussion in the parliament, that other proposals should also be taken into consideration, not just the government's, because I mean it's the constitution. This is something that requires really an open, I would say, comprehensive debate, and it should really be something that will be done based on the general consensus. And now there is a debate going on within the parliament, and also we have asked for public debate for at least 3 months, because we were afraid that this is another thing that will be done in just a few weeks. And we will see how this story will go. Another thing is, and I'm sorry that Ms. Pusic-Lav, because she knows this story also very well, since she is the head of the National Committee for European Integration. Civil society organizations are completely excluded from the process of accession to the European Union. When it comes to, you know, adjusting our laws to acquis communautaire, and so negotiating teams, they only have several representatives of civil society organizations as members, but even those that are like members, actually when you talk with them, you see that they gave only little input, that they were not even invited to all of the meetings, and they really don't know what's being negotiated. The whole process is secretive, so you cannot get any information on the positions of the Croatian government in the process of negotiations, and you cannot get any information on those chapters that were already closed, what was actually agreed upon. And the government is refusing all of our initiatives in that way of making this process more transparent. We only here and so get some information from the media when somebody from those working groups goes to the media and gives them some information. So one of the things last year that we heard about was that, and this goes again to the fact that there is no equal treatment of all non-profit organizations in Croatia. So non-profit organizations are also religious communities, and it seems that right now there is no financial benefits for civil society organizations in a way that you would have some exemptions from paying taxes or something like that, although there were exemptions before, so you didn't have to pay VAT on foreign donations that you would get, but you would use all the money for projects. This was changed in 2004, and since then only humanitarian organizations, religious organizations and some others have this exemption. And now, according to this information that was somehow linked to the media, the government is actually asking, you know, for the permanent exception in this respect only for religious organizations. So we can pretty much know that once we enter the European Union, all of us will be paying VAT apart from the religious organizations, which goes straight against the strategy for civil society development, but again, we have no actual proof because, of course, this is a secret information that you cannot get hold of. The secret is something that we often hear in our work because we also try to get some information